And so today, we're moving forward. We're introducing legislation to implement a national freeze on handgun ownership. What this means is that it will no longer be possible to buy, sell, transfer, or import handguns anywhere in Canada. In other words, we're capping the market for handguns.
Hi there everyone, this is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth, and it's official. Trudeau is coming for the guns. I'm sure viewers of this channel already know that Mao took the guns, Stalin took the guns, Hitler took the guns. All three of these men disarmed their populations before attempting their massive power grabs, and now it looks like it's Justin Trudeau's turn. As we see here, he's now introducing new legislation that's expected to be passed in the fall. And here it is, guys. Keeping Canadians safe is the government of Canada's top priority. We know that one Canadian killed by gun violence is one too many, which is why 2 years ago we banned over 1,500 types of military-style assault firearms. We also strengthened our gun control laws to expand background checks and to keep firearms out of the wrong hands. These measures are helping to keep our children and our communities safe. Isn't it interesting that he seems to have admitted that by saying the wrong hands, that guns are not necessarily a problem. Guns aren't bad. It's just guns need to be in the hands of the right people, aka them. The government, the police. I mean, obviously, the police are going to need to have guns in order to disarm the law-abiding citizens who have guns. And Trudeau is continuously saying that that's just misinformation and disinformation, that he's going to take law-abiding citizens' guns. But as you'll see in this video, that is absolutely not the case, folks. It isn't misinformation. He is coming for law-abiding citizens' guns. And it's already insanely difficult in this country to obtain a firearm. They say they want to beef up the background checks. Well, I mean, as it is now, you know, if anybody who's had experience with this will know, you know, you have any kind of a record, forget about it. If you're married, they're going to want to talk to your spouse. If it's your second or third marriage, they're going to contact your ex-spouses to see if there's any history of domestic abuse and things like that. It's wild here in Canada. You know, if you're a licensed producer of cannabis, you can't own a firearm. Yeah, it's one or the other. If you are legally licensed to produce cannabis, which a lot of people are in this country, you can't own a firearm. It's one or the other. You want the right to produce cannabis, or you want the right to own a firearm. You're not having either of the two. It's crazy. And also, you know, not being able to protect yourself like that, you also waive the right to warrantless searches if you are possessing a firearm legally in Canada. Yeah, that's right. The cops can just come into your home at any time they want, unannounced, no warrant, just come in and check you out because you own a firearm. Not to mention, even if you have your firearm at your house, it has to be stored in a safe, unloaded, with the bullets, the ammo stored separately, completely making it useless in an emergency situation. Not to mention, if you want to go anywhere with your firearm, you want to transport this even to the gun range, even to the store where you purchased the gun to have it serviced or something, you have to notify the cops of your travel plans. You got to tell them when you'll be leaving, where is point A, point B, point C, back to A, the whole route. You have to lay it all out for them. It's just crazy. So now they're saying they want to do more vetting and make it more difficult for, as we say, law-abiding citizens to obtain a firearm, because that's what it's all about. It's all about hands being in the guns of the right or the wrong people. I mean, I'm reminded of this meme here, and a quote by Stefan Molyneux. As you see here, you got the state versus you, right? Hand over your gun. I have a right to bear arms. You have no need for guns. I have a right to bear arms. The state says guns are bad. You say, I have a right to bear arms. Not anymore. Well, I have a right to bear arms as a last resort to protect myself against tyranny. Tyranny? You're insane, armed, and dangerous. Hand over the gun or I will shoot. The moral argument is guns can't be both good and bad. This is just a logical thing. And since you will need guns in the hands of police to take away guns from the hands of private citizens, then what you're saying is guns in the hands of the government are really good and guns in the hands of private citizens are really bad. And what you've then done is you've created opposite moral standards for two groups of people who are not differentiated by anything except the concept called the state. And, you know, that's exactly what it comes down to. That's why Trudeau doesn't actually have a problem with guns. I mean, consider this image. Trudeau, there's no reason anyone in Canada should need guns in their everyday life. Yeah, also Trudeau, right? So today we're going to take a look at this Zero Hedge article, which does a pretty good job at breaking it down. Trudeau proposes law banning handgun sales in Canada, guys. And just before we do, very quickly, I want to let you know that this channel is completely 100% viewer funded. So if that's something you appreciate and something you'd like to get in on contributing to, please check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. All right, guys. Let's take a look at this. Trudeau proposes law banning handgun sales in Canada, fresh off his disturbingly authoritarian response to trucker protests against COVID-19 vaccine mandates. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau turned the dystopian dial all the way up to 11 on Monday, introducing legislation that would completely freeze the import, purchase, or sale of handguns while compelling compensated forfeitures of, quote, assault weapons. On the same day, President Biden declared there's no rational basis for 9mm ammunition in the context of self-defense. Trudeau said, other than using firearms for sport shooting and hunting, there's no reason anyone in Canada should need guns in their daily lives. Flanked by families of shooting victims and a group of officials that included Canada's Minister of Women and Gender Equality and Youth, Trudeau declared, it will be illegal to buy, sell, transfer, or import handguns anywhere in Canada. In 2020, Canada similarly banned the sale of more than 1,500 models of so-called assault weapons. Owners were allowed to keep existing rifles, provided they had a permit, and others were given a 2-year amnesty period in which to turn them in. While the government estimated that 105,000 weapons were affected by the policy, Canadians had turned in just 160 of them through December 9th to 2021. To this point, no compensation has been provided. So they're already being proven to be lying about the compensation, or just it's, you know, not actually going to happen, or it's going to take a long time. And besides, you know, law-abiding citizens who lawfully purchased their firearms are not just going to all of a sudden hand them over because you say so. And that's proof in the numbers. Now, under the proposed law, most owners of covered rifles will be required to surrender them to the government via a mandatory buyback program set to begin by the end of 2022. It's unclear how much compensation will be offered. So when Trudeau says it's misinformation and disinformation to say that we're coming for law-abiding citizens' guns, no, it's right there in the bill, ladies and gentlemen, which most certainly is expected to pass. So we're going to talk about some of the solutions for how to deal with this moving forward, but let's continue with this article. The proposed legislation would also require rifle and shotgun magazines to be permanently altered so that they can never hold more than 5 rounds. Canada would also ban the sale or transfer of so-called large capacity magazines, which under Canadian law would now be defined as one that could just hold 6 rounds or more. Yeah, a large capacity magazine in Canada will soon be something considered to have 6 bullets. The proposal includes a new red flag law by which courts can order individuals considered a danger to themselves or others to surrender their firearms to police. That doesn't sound good, guys. Red flag, red flag, red flag going off in my mind. I mean, just the use of the word danger or a dangerous person to themselves or to some others is highly interpretive. So essentially, they're going to be able to come and take away essentially anyone's guns for pretty much any excuse that they feel like making up. We need to only look south of the border to know that if we do not take action firmly and rapidly, it gets worse and worse and more difficult to counter, Trudeau told reporters. Making his own comparison, Minister of Emergency Preparedness Bill Blair said, in Canada, gun ownership is a privilege, not a right. This is a principle that differentiates ourselves from many other countries in the world, notably our colleagues and friends to the south. And in case you guys didn't know, Bill Blair is the chief of police who was in charge during the G20 summit in 2010 in Toronto, who most epically failed the Canadian people. It was the largest mass arrest of civilians in Canada, and they ended up suing the government. They won in a class action lawsuit. $16 million they were forced to pay over to these people whose rights were violated. And that's the man who's currently in charge of, what is it, emergency preparedness? Yeah, I just wanted to let you know in case you didn't know. The legislation is fully expected to be enacted this fall. Canada's constitution has no equivalent to America's Second Amendment. For the most part, Canadian law only allows handguns to be loaded or fired at shooting ranges. They generally aren't even allowed to be carried. Canada's rapid descent down the slippery slope from banning the sale of assault rifles to ordering the surrender of such rifles and freezing handgun ownership should stand as a stark cautionary tale for current and prospective American gun owners and for Republican legislators now under pressure to compromise with the Democrats on assault rifle bans or others purported common sense gun measure control. And it's pretty wild that this comes in the wake of the Texas elementary school shooting. That's pretty much what triggered this new gun grab by Trudeau. Not even something that happened in Canada, but this is something that they've been working on for quite some time. If you go to my website and you do a search for gun control, or even broaden the search by just doing a search for the word gun, you'll see all kinds of stuff like this: Canadian gun ban in effect, live with Press for Truth. Nova Scotia mass shooting leads to new strict gun control laws, what you need to know. Breaking: Trudeau planning sweeping gun ban before October election. Canadian doctors want your guns, what you need to know. That one talking about Trudeau planning a sweeping gun ban was an interview I did with Rod Giltaca. He was still currently is the head of the Canadian Coalition Rights for Firearm Rights. And I've interviewed him a number of times. We broke it down a few years ago, actually, in another video. I don't recall what it was called, but you can look it up. It was a live show, the future of gun control in Canada with Rod Giltaca, and we pretty much absolutely nailed everything that is happening currently today. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. Now, I wanted to mention to you guys that this hasn't passed yet, right? This is just a piece of legislation, a bill that still has to, you know, achieve royal assent to become an actual law, but it's very highly suspected and expected that it will pass. So you can still currently purchase firearms legally in Canada, a handgun, and I highly suspect that in the next coming months, gun sales are going to absolutely skyrocket and go through the roof as people try to do everything they can to legally get their hands on some firearms before this law comes in, guys. But what about after the law comes in, you know? And what is this going to look like for the future of humanity when governments, like we've already witnessed before in the past, have taken the people's ability to protect themselves against said government? It always goes bad when the guns are taken away. So this is a different time. You know, just like when they used to have control over information with the printing presses and stuff, the invention of the internet changed everything, and they lost a little bit of control when it came to information. Well, the same thing is happening with guns. I put out this video way back in 2014 called "The Future of Gun Control." It's in the Internet forever. Technology in the marketplace is overriding state control, faster than the politicians can even grasp the concepts. Just as the internet ended the corporate oligopoly of information, the invention of the 3D printer may revolutionize society once again. Dan Dicks of Press for Truth interviews Cody Wilson, one of the major players in creating 3D printed guns. 3D printed guns. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen that interview, go check it out. Cody Wilson is the guy who first came up with the first 3D printed gun. He called it the Liberator, and he published, you know, his blueprints in open source so that anybody could download it, and anybody who owns a printer could manufacture one of these. And I think that's something that's going to be happening a lot in the future. And so just wanted to point that out to you guys. Check out my interview with the guy who came up with the whole concept and invented the first one. It's been a long time since then. You know, that was back in 2014. I'm sure the technology has advanced quite drastically since then. And these 3D printed guns that can be made in your garage probably work far better than they did back when it was just the Liberator. Anyways, guys, just something I wanted to bring to your attention in case you were not aware of that. And the fact that, you know, this has been a slow kind of incremental move towards the gun grab, but they've just kicked it into hyper overdrive. They're now moving into a sprint rather than a totalitarian tiptoe. So just wanted to bring this to your attention, guys. You can still legally purchase firearms. You can print them yourself in your workshop or garage. And the government is coming for law-abiding citizens' guns, because it's so ridiculous. We know that the gun debate all comes down to good people versus bad people. Bad people are not going to obey the laws. They're always going to be able to get their hands on guns, and even if they can't get their hands on guns, they'll get their hands on some other means of carrying out the evil that they do. And unless good people out there have the ability to protect themselves and others from these enemies of humanity, things are only going to get worse, and people will be begging the nanny state to, you know, be their protector. When if we learn anything from the Texas school shooting, which is all this is based on, we can't rely on them. We can't trust the government. We can't rely on the police. We have to take that responsibility onto ourselves. So just wanted to bring all that to your information today, guys. Once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to continuously counter all the propaganda that we see from the mainstream, don't forget to check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. And that's all for today, guys. I want to thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button, share this video with your friends and family who you think might need to see this the most, and stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming very soon. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.